Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week, and if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. In today's tutorial, we're making shorts. As you can see, these cuties feature a flattering chevron design that draws the eyes, and we finish them with a scalloped edge for a little extra cuteness. Speaking of, if you're looking to make something cute to pair with these shorts, you are in the right place. We have hundreds of modern crochet tutorials and patterns, with even more dropping twice weekly, so consider clicking the bell to subscribe and you'll never miss an upload. Also, do me a huge favor and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to show support so I can keep putting out free tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday. Now it's time to get on the show, so without further ado. For this project, any category 4 yarn will work, but I used a total of 340 grams of yarn. That's 580 yards if you're stateside. And the individual measurements will be on the screen. As for tools, a 5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order, and enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us when's the last time you had a noodle dish and what it was. Noodles are one of my favorite things in the whole entire world. I had ramen yesterday and will also have it today. Details for the giveaway down below. We're using 4 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet. This tutorial is made for a size small, but you can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting these shorts started, we're all going to grab our secondary color yarn and make a slip knot. Then grab our 5mm hook and start off by making a chain the height that we'd like for our waistband to be. I'd like for mine to be roughly 2 inches or 5 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 10. Now that we have our chain, we're all going to block off that last chain and do a chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. Then into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, insert with a slip stitch. So bring your hook down into that chain. When we have those 2 loops in our hook, yarn over and gently pull through both of those loops. We want to make sure that we're pulling through gently, otherwise the following row may be too tight to work into. Again, into that next chain, insert, yarn over, gently pull through both loops. Continue with 1 slip stitch into every chain. Now that we've made our way all the way down with our row 1, we're going to get started on row 2. So chain 1, flip your work, and now put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. So into that first stitch, insert into that back loop or the loop that's furthest away from you, yarn over, pull through everything on your hook. Again, into that next stitch's back loop, insert, yarn over, pull through everything. Continue with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, and that's it. We're going to continue with our back loop slip stitch rows for our waistband with no increases and no decreases until we have a portion that can stretch, because remember it will have a decent amount of stretch to it, around the widest part of our hips. I'll meet you back when we have rows that is in multiples of 4, and then we can get started on the length of the shorts. We are back. I've just completed my waistband. I have a total of 104 rows, and my width is roughly 19 inches or 48 centimeters, and that is unstretched. Now from here, we're going to single crochet along the edge. So from where we're at, all we're going to do is chain 1. So what we're going to do is put 1 single crochet into every side row. So starting with our first side row right here, we're going to find that top loop. This is mine right here. I'm going to find that top loop and insert with a single crochet. Now this side row, which is my raised row, is my following side row. A single crochet is going to be worked into there as well. So find that top loop and single crochet. Let's do this again. This following row, which is our divot, I'm going to find that top loop, insert with a single. Finding our following side row, find that top loop, insert with another single, and that's it. Continue with 1 single crochet into every side row. Now as a quick tip, we should end up with the same amount of single crochets as rows that we made, and then I'll meet you back so we can seam it up together. So we are back. We have just finished up our single crochet row, and now we're going to seam everything together. So first things first, we're going to make sure the work is flipped right side out, meaning the front of this single crochet row is all along the outside. Then we're going to fold our work in half, Then we're going to insert our hook into the top corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. Then yarn over and pull through everything on our hook. Now we're going to do our outside loop slip stitch seam. So start by finding our first stitch into the front panel and insert only into that front loop. Then find that next stitch into the back panel, insert only into that back loop. Then yarn over and pull through everything. Again, into that next stitch into that front panel, insert. Next stitch into that back panel, insert into that back loop, yarn over and pull through everything, and that's it. Continue doing this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into, then I'll meet you back. Now we need to separate our right and left pant leg. So start by inserting our first 2 stitch markers into the stitches that's nearest to the seam. Then we're all going to find our 2 middle stitches. It should be 2 for every size, since we all should have ended on an even number. And my 2 middle stitches are 52. So from one stitch marker, I counted 52, inserted my stitch marker, and also into the next one as well. We should have the same amount of stitches on both sides, and once we do, we can get started on the length of our shorts. Now getting started on the length, insert your hook into one of our stitch marker stitches, doesn't matter which one. Then we're all going to make a chain that is in multiples of 12, the length that we'd like for the shorts to be. I'd like for mine to be just about 11 inches or 28 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 48. Now that we have our chain, we're all going to do one additional chain. That will count as our base chain. Then what we're going to do is block off that last chain and start with a chain 2. That chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain, and the following 12 stitches will be the same for everyone. So, getting started, we're going to be putting 1 double crochet into that chain that we blocked off, or the 3rd chain from our hook. So insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then another double crochet into that following chain. Then from here, 3 half doubles. So into that following chain, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, there's 1, into that next chain with our second, there we go, half double, into that following chain with our 3rd half double. Then right after that, 3 singles, there is 1, 2, and 3. Then, to work our way back up, 3 half doubles, then 1 double crochet. Now all together we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 stitches completed. We're going to continue to repeat these 12 stitches, making our way all the way down, and then I'll meet you back. So we are back. We've made our way all the way down with our 12 stitches. Now we're going to connect it into the base. So all we're going to do is count up the next 2 available stitches. So there's 1, there's 2. Into that second stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch. Now that this first row is connected, we're going to work our way up to the following row. So how we're going to do that is slip stitch into the following 2 stitches into the base, because these stitches are kind of tall. And as a reminder, none of these slip stitches into the base count as a stitch. Now once we have slip stitch up the following 2 stitches, we're going to flip our work. And we're all going to get started on the following row. So yarn over, and finding the last stitch from our previous row, we're going to insert with an increase of 2 back loop double crochets, and it is going to be the same amount of stitches for everyone, no matter what size we're making. So finding the top of our previous stitch, making sure we're not working into any of those slip stitches into the base, we're going to insert into that back loop with 1 double, then into that same back loop with another double. Then from here, we're all going to be putting 1 back loop double crochet into each of the following 4 stitches. So yarn over with 1 back loop double, into that next with another back loop double, following another back loop double, following with another back loop double. Then from here, a decrease of 3 back loop double crochets. So yarn over, into that next stitch's back loop, pull through, next stitch's back loop, pull through, next stitch's back loop, pull through. When we have these 5 loops on our hook, we're all going to yarn over, pull through the first 4, then yarn over, pull through 2. Now since we are at our decrease, we are going to insert a stitch marker into the top of that decrease. Then from here, 4 back loop double crochets again, so into that next stitch with our first back loop double, next back loop double, our third back loop double and fourth back loop double. And now that we're at the high point, we're all going to do an increase of 3 back loop doubles. So yarn over into that next stitch with 1, with 2, and then with our third back loop double all into that same stitch. And since we want to make sure that we know where the middle point of this portion is, we're going to insert a stitch marker into that middle stitch that we did for that increase, and that's it. From here, we're going to continue to repeat what we just did, not including that first stitch, because that first stitch is just for the first and for the last. So all it's going to be is 4 back loop doubles, decrease of 3, 4 back loop doubles, increase of 3, and we want to make sure that we're still inserting our stitch markers into the top of the decrease and into the middle stitch of the increase. And I'll meet you back when we have just 1 stitch left. So we made our way all the way down with a row 2. We should all have 1 stitch left, and we're going to close off the row with an increase of 2 back loop doubles. So yarn over into that last stitch's back loop with 1 back loop double, and into that last stitch's back loop again with another back loop double. And that's it. It's going to be a repeat of this previous row, making our way all the way down. So let's just get the following rows started off with each other. So chain 2 and flip. The beginning and the end of every row is going to be an increase of 2 back loop doubles. So yarn over into that first stitch's back loop with 2 back loop doubles. Then for everyone still, 4 back loop double crochets. When we have our 4 back loop doubles, we should have 1 available stitch right before our following stitch marker stitch. So I'm going to take that out. Now we're going to do a decrease. So yarn over into that next stitch's back loop, pull through, next stitch's back loop, pull through, next stitch's back loop, pull through, yarn over, pull through 4, yarn over, pull through 2. Don't forget to insert your stitch marker into the top of that stitch. When our decrease is complete, 4 back loop doubles again. Now that we're at our following stitch marker, which is our increase stitch marker, I'm going to take that out, and now we're going to do an increase of 3 back loop doubles. So there is 1, there is 2, and 3 back loop doubles, all into that same middle stitch, and don't forget to insert your stitch marker into the top of that middle stitch of our increase. Continue doing this, making our way all the way down until we all have 1 stitch left. So we are back with our row 3, should all have 1 stitch left. Now like I said, the beginning and the end of every row is going to be an increase of 2 back loop doubles, so yarn over into that last stitch with 1, then with a second back loop double, and that's it. Now I need to connect it into the base. So what we're going to do is count up the next 2 available stitches into the base. There's 1, there's 2. Slip stitch into that second stitch into the base. And now our row 3 is connected. Then we need to work our way up to our row 4, so slip stitch up the following 2 stitches in the base. There's 1, and there's 2. Remembering that none of those slip stitches count as a stitch. Flip our work, and then repeat. And I'll meet you back once we are worked into the stitch right before our following stitch marker stitch. We are back. We have just made our way all the way across to our next stitch marker stitch. We should all be worked into the stitch that's right before. Now for everyone's last row, it is going to be an evening out row similar to the first row that we did. So it's going to start off the same for everyone, no matter if you guys end along the base or the outer edge. For those of you that ended along the outer edge, what you guys are going to do is chain 1 and flip your work. For those of us that have ended along the base, we're going to slip stitch into that following stitch into the base, which is our stitch marker stitch, and flip. Now this evening out row is the same idea as the first row like I said, so we're all going to start with 2 back loop single crochets. So into that last stitch from our previous row, here is 1 back loop single, our second back loop single, then 3 back loop half double crochets. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3 double crochets, so there's 1, there is 2, there is 3, then 3 back loop half doubles again, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and then 1 back loop single. Now everyone's following stitch should be our stitch marker stitch for the increase. As you guys can see, I've taken mine out, but it should be in the middle of this increase that we did from our previous row. From here, we're just going to continue to repeat our previous rows, making our way all the way down. Now for those of you that have started along the base and are going to end along the bottom edge, you do not have to do a chain up of 1 and cut. I'll meet you guys back so we can do the inner thigh connector. But for those of you that have started along the outer edge and are working your way in towards the base, once when you slip stitch into that stitch marker stitch, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I'll meet you back. So we are back. We have just completed our final row for the shorts width portion, and now we're going to work on the inner thigh connector. So first things first, if you guys worked your way down towards the outer edge, our hook should already be in through that outer edge, or if you guys did a chain up of 1 and cut along the base, insert your hook into this bottom corner stitch. Then what we're going to do is try on our shorts, making sure that the waistband is where we want it to sit once when the whole thing is completed, so high-waisted or low-rise. Then we're all going to insert our stitch marker into any stitch from the bottom that is in multiples of 12 plus 1, right at the top of our inner thigh. So I wanted my inner thigh connector to be roughly 3 inches or 8 centimeters in width, and so I inserted my stitch marker into the 13th stitch from the bottom, so that's 12 plus 1, so 13 for me. Then from here, what we're going to do is our first row for this inner thigh connector, which is our evening out row. So we're going to chain 2 and flip. The first row for the inner thigh connector is going to be done the same way as the first row for the shorts. So we're all going to start with 2 double crochets. So yarn over into that first stitch with 1 back loop double, following stitch with another back loop double, then 3 back loop half doubles, then 3 back loop singles, 3 back loop half doubles again. Then for me, since I am near my stitch marker, 2 back loop doubles. So 1 into that following stitch and 1 into the stitch right after that, which is my stitch marker stitch. If you guys insert your stitch marker into a higher spot, continue to repeat 3 back loop half doubles, 3 back loop singles, 3 back loop half doubles, 3 back loop doubles until you're worked into your stitch marker stitch. Then we can all get started on our following row. So we're all going to chain 2 and flip. So this second row is going to start off the same way as the second row for our chevron. So an increase of 2 back loop doubles, 4 back loop doubles, decrease of 3 back loop doubles, 4 back loop doubles, and I just have 1 stitch left, so I'm going to close off my row with an increase of 2 back loop doubles. But if you guys have more stitches to do, you guys are going to be doing an increase of 3 back loop doubles. And we're going to continue on with that until we don't have any more stitches left to work into, making sure that the first and last stitch of every row starts with an increase of 2 back loop doubles. Then continue to repeat this row until we have a portion that can stretch from one side of your shorts across your inner thigh to the other side of your shorts. And I'll meet you back right after we finish up an odd number row. So we are back. I have just completed the width of my inner thigh connector. I now have a total of 11 rows. This width is roughly 6 inches or 15 centimeters. Now we're going to do one last row for this so that we all end along the bottom, and it's just going to be another fill-in row. So for everyone, no matter what size we're making, we're going to chain 1 and flip. So similar to our other fill-in rows, we're all going to start with 2 back loop single crochets. There's 1. In that following stitch, there's 2. Then all we're going to do is continue to repeat 3 back loop half doubles, 3 back loop doubles, 3 back loop half doubles, and 3 back loop singles, making our way all the way down until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. When we don't, I'll meet you back so we can seam it up together. So now that our evening out row is complete, we're now ready to seam it all up. So making sure that our work is flipped wrong side out because we want this seam to be along the inside when we wear it. We're going to insert our hook into the bottom corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through everything. Then what we're going to do is single crochet into both the front and back panel at the same time. So inserting our hook into that first stitch into the front panel, insert, first stitch into the back panel, insert, and single crochet. Let's do that again. Next stitch into the front panel, insert, next stitch into the back panel, insert, single crochet, and continue this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. When we don't, do a chain up of 1 and cut, then repeat everything that we did here on the other side, and then I'll meet you back. We are back. We have just completed both the right and left pant leg. Now from here, we're ready to seam everything up. So we're going to flip our work wrong side out, meaning the seams that we just did are now going to be along the outside. Then we're going to insert our hook into the first stitches that we have within the right and left pant leg. So making sure that the seam is going to be on the inside, we're going to insert our yarn onto our hook and pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure. And from here, we're going to do a single crochet seam until we reach our inner thigh connectors. So start by finding our first stitch into the front panel, insert, first stitch into the back panel, insert, and single crochet. Continue this until we reach our inner thigh connector, and then I'll meet you back to show you how we're going to connect into there. So we have just seamed our way down until we have reached our inner thigh connector. So all we're going to do is just work into there. And since we don't have any actual stitches to work into the tops of these rows, we're just going to be putting 2 single crochets into every side row. So the only tip that I have for you guys is when we are pursing these 2 panels up to each other, we want to make sure that we're pursing it in a way that'll make sure that the seam is going to stay along the same side as the seam that we're currently doing. So all I'm going to do is just take this edge and just pinch it together so it's faced up towards me. Now we're going to be putting 2 single crochets into every side row. So finding that top loop within the front panel, insert, top loop within the back panel, insert with 1, into that same top loop with a second single crochet. Then into the actual chevron portion. The next side row, find that top loop, insert. Next side row within the back panel, find that top loop, insert with 1 single. Then another single crochet into that same top loop. Should be easier since everything should already be gathered for us. Single crochet. The next one again. Next top loop, insert. Next top loop within the back panel, insert with 1, then with a second single crochet, and just continue this, making our way all the way down. Well, we don't have any more side rows left to work into. Continue on with our single crochet seam, working our way back up the other side. Well, we don't have any more stitches left to work into. Do a chain up of 1 and cut. Then I'll meet you back. So we are back. Everything is all seamed up and looking quite nice. Now we're going to finish up our piece with just a scalloped edge along the bottom of our shorts. So what we're going to do is make sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up. Then insert our hook into any one of the side rows that we have that's within the inner thigh connector because we want this to be hidden. And we're going to insert our yarn onto our hook. I've inserted my secondary color yarn onto my hook, so the one that matches my waistband. I'm going to pull through, and we're going to start with a chain 1 just to secure. Now into the same side row that our chain 1 is in, I'm going to do 6 double crochets. So starting with the yarn over, into that same top loop with 1, same top loop with our second, third, fourth, 5th, and 6th. Now that this is completed, we're going to single crochet into that following side row just to connect this, and then repeat. So into the following side row with another 6 double crochets. So yarn over. Insert again with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 double crochets, and single crochet into our following side row. We're just going to continue doing this, making our way all the way around. When we don't have any more stitches left, slip stitch into that chain 1 that we made, do a chain up of 1 and cut, then repeat on the other side. We have just completed the scalloped edge along both of our pant legs. Now the last thing we're going to do is our waistband. So we're going to be making a drawstring, which is pretty simple. We're just going to make a chain that can wrap around the widest part of our hips, plus a few extra inches, just so we have a little bit extra to make a bow. So I've already made my chain, which was 150, and now just going to show you guys how we're going to weave it in. So we're going to make sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up. We're then going to trace our middle seam all the way up into the waistband, and it's going to vaguely give us where the middle of our waistband is. I'm just going to follow this one all the way up. So what I'm going to do from here, I'm going to be using my hook. You guys can use a tapestry needle, completely up to you. I'm going to find a stitch that I like where I want my drawstring to be woven in. I'd like for mine to be within the middle. I'm just going to bring my hook through that stitch, just through a couple rows, and then I'm going to attach my drawstring onto my hook. Then from here, I'm going to pull my drawstring through, but not all the way because we want to leave this extra slack for the bow. That's basically it. We're just going to continue to insert our hook into the same stitch that we have into every row, making our way all the way around, and then I'll meet you guys back. So we have just completed weaving on our drawstring, and now we are all done. Last thing we're going to have to do is just weave in all of our ends. And there you have it, y'all. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch y'all in the next one. Bye.